big panel. Look at all of you, this is beautiful.
We're horrible people.
We love all the same kinds of things, and most of them are ponies. Welcome to Fic Writers After Dark, the Fic Writers After Dark panel. I'd like to introduce my panelists. Stoner Shy, Pacce, O, and Sleeplessbrony. Oh, I'm just Applejinx. Yay!
Sleeplessbrony. He's awesome.
Alrighty. Now, this is not exactly an introduction to After Dark Pony Writing Channel. I think we all understand this pretty well. We don't have to ask what this writing is for. We can't go into a lot of detail on what this is for. This is actually still a PG-13 panel. Because BronyCon is a PG-13 con. That means a number of things. One of the things it means is that we can say the dreaded F word once as an expletive and once only.
Wait, are you fucking serious? You're going to I was saving that outside.
Thank you, Stoner Shy. You have justified your position on the panel. Yep. You were carded going in here because partly of a previous panel. It was a panel called The Roast of MLP, in which it was a comedic roast of the MLP characters. The guy who was running is a very funny guy and stuff, but he started taking questions from the audience and things got a little lively. Probably a whole bunch of the audience really enjoyed it anyhow, but a couple of the people were really upset. And so BronyCon is working on determining what works for us as plus panels. This is kind of a new thing. So we're going to see how it goes. And we're evolving what we need to do in order to make this work, because it is still a PG-13 panel. The basic idea of BronyCon is that the legitimate audience of the show, well, we are the legitimate audience of the show, thank you very much. But the intended audience of the show can pretty much be anywhere in the con safely, and they're welcome because it's their show too. Can I get a yay?
Yay!
It's all about context, really. In the right context, like on FIM Fiction, we can do the stuff that we do all we want. In the panel, we're probably going to be talking about well, if I say techniques, it suggests all kinds of things.
How about the ins and outs?
Ooh, thank you, Pacce. We're probably going to be talking about the writing craft, because I'm guessing an awful lot of people out there are writers, you know, who have every bitch as much, why did I say that? No, I think that's actually legit, but there's a lot of people out there who'd be up here just as easily. We just happen to be the ones who rehearsed, we just happen to be the ones that the convention organizers know are going to be here. And running this adult panel, we're pretty much doing it by the book, and we're pretty much doing it the way that it was planned to be run. In fact, I think one of my programming supervisors is even out there somewhere watching me and making sure that I do it right. Say hello there, buddy.
Anyone?
No, they're incognito. She's hiding. Now, there's a couple of things about this panel, which I'll get off to a start, and then we can start bouncing around. Pretty much the first question about Ponies After Dark is, why are you guys getting all after dark about freaking ponies? Well, that's the question people would generally ask, you know. And there's a lot of good reasons. For instance, one possible reason. Yes, I'll say it. Some of us have the same answer for this. One answer of that is, well, I was a furry before I was a brony, so I know all about After Dark.
That's a really short version.
That's a really short version.
Oh, well, you know.
There was one point on, I was actually on Reddit, on a subreddit that I like called Clock Clock. Yay! And wrote an elaborate answer for this, which I think makes a lot of sense. For instance, One reason the ponies get to us in this way is their parts are super rounded and contoured because Flash makes these curves with control points, and the forms that it makes, they mimic the contour of things like mammaries and posteriors. I actually even wrote stronger words than that there, but since the roast of MLP went so horribly wrong, we're all kind of a little gun shy here. I watch it for the plot.
What's a plot?
You know, these shapes are neither geometric or they're irregular. They're sort of idealized, you know, shapes. And so the ponies are really appealing to the eye. More importantly than that, they have really striking, clear personalities. You know, when we look at these ponies and it's like, okay, it's just a cartoon, how come you're having this reaction to it? It's not just because the appearance of it is just an empty, hollow shell for gratification. You know, these are like people we know. You know, it's like Sweet Nerdy Twilight or the awesome and amazing Rainbow Dash. You know, these are not empty images. They're filled with character. That's actually good. You know, how many people spend a lot of time, you know, alone with a tissue and a bunch of lotion, looking at just images that don't even have any personalities to them. It's kind of dehumanizing and stuff. And the ponies we can relate to. We like them. We love them.
Some more than others.
Some more. It's not hard to imagine how each of these ponies would play along with the kinds of things we're imagining and to keep on imagining it step by step. So it's all very interesting in that way. You know, and because these are not a mass of pointless detail, the images and the characterization are all sort of iconic and simple and basic. You really understand them easily and you get them. It leaves you a lot of room to But I know I just wrote, it leaves you a lot of room to fill in the gaps with yourself. Your personality is part of what animates these ponies. It's like the way you're filling in and creating your own, like Rainbow Dash or whatever. Every artist or fanfic writer ends up creating their own versions of these characters. They all come out a little bit differently. Like, you know, my main cast is not the same as O's main cast. It's not the same as Sleepless's main cast. You know, and all of you create your own ponies in whatever ways you interact with the ponies as well. You're getting to create your own dream Twilight or Applejack or Dashy or whatever without getting lots of argument from the real ones contradicting you.
Which is actually one of the reasons why I got into it, because I was actually started writing in the early days of FIM. And the thing is, in those early days, there weren't a lot of fanfics, so I was kind of reading them all, and some of them were getting, you know, a little out there, a little crazy, and I was a little like, you know, could I do that too?
Yes.
I mean, some of these are pretty good, so I think I can beat that. Yeah, I like that. But, you know,
beat that, yeah.
I figured it'd be a new challenge, a new experience, an experiment if you will. And turned out to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. We're going to try to dig into some of the secrets of writing good pop fiction. We're looking into... Wasn't I supposed to say that word? Oh.
Whoops.
We're going to try to look at That's actually not one of the 7 naughty words. We're thinking about trying to get into some of the secrets of how to write this stuff and have people be interested in it. Does that sound good? Like, you know, what's working for us kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Pretend like you like it.
Well, maybe that's one of the secrets. Oh.
Fake it till you make it.
Okay, well,
Buy back and think of Equestria.
interested in one of the first notions we came up with when we were brainstorming on what we were going to say? We're thinking that good writing runs on the character desires, especially when the desires are blocked or go wrong. It's not really about like, oh, and this is the one in which I go to Equestria as a brony and meet Rainbow Dash, who randomly wants to like go to bed with me and blah, 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 blah. Instead, it's about the character desires and coming up with ways either I mean, we're talking about that, and you can say, okay, so the plot is Rainbow Dash suddenly has this strong desire, you know, not like she would ever have strong desires in the fics that we tend to write. Surely not. Never. But rather you set up, you know, you address it like it was writing a regular story, writing regular drama, in that you might have something going on, oh, it's wonderful with this kind of stuff. You might have something going on where they have some conflict. Something is being attempted, but it's not necessarily going to go right because some pony in the story is having a problem with some part of it, and they got to work through it.
Right. I mean, you know, things don't always work out perfectly in the bedroom, and you know that is that can be a major source of drama because you know you have two people whose emotions are running very high. And for something to go wrong at that point can echo in ways that are larger than just a fight outside of the bedroom.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Were we allowed to say sex? I don't remember. If we're allowed to
You might as well because you just did. After hitting with the hamburger.
Yeah, like
We're going to have to work out a way to do this because we got cleared from the council. We are allowed to have this panel. We just have to come up with a way of doing it effectively so we can fit into a PG-13 convention, and we'll do our level best. Yes, say sex. Say it again.
Sex. Say it again. Sex.
Thank you. There you go.
So like, this is just from my personal experience, but like I have never had a.
Point your microphone at you because you're no longer wearing the horse mask.
Oh yeah, I'm no longer wearing the horse mask. Okay. So like, you can do something that's just like flawless textbook, like what you would see on like produced work, I guess. I'm no longer on VHS apparently, but anyway. But you can do that, but like in a way that's kind of boring. I honestly think that like a little bit of like clumsiness is kind of interesting because like, well, don't do that because I'm not into that, or like this is what I'm into and here let me show you how to do it. Like you kind of have more interaction and chemistry that way because like, yeah, realism. Yeah. That makes it more fun, I guess. So like you know, a little mistake here and there. It's kind of interesting. Spice things up in the bedroom.
And not to mention, it's an exploration of the kind that you will not get in the show.
Yep.
Simply put, we're not going to see this in the show. The horses, well, we can not look at another horse and go like, yeah. So this is your chance to show folks, this is how you view, say, Pinkie Pie, and insert pony that you ship Pinkie Pie with.
And a big tub of pudding.
Exactly. And say, okay, how would this actually go with their personalities? How's this gonna, are they gonna mesh? Are they gonna mesh right away? Are they gonna mesh that way? And, you know, just really explore the character and make a statement about them.
Yeah, it's like some of the strongest, most basic desires are sexual desires. It's a completely, I mean, through history there's always been a lot of fiction that's gone into those areas, and it's always run into challenges. Like Stanley Kubrick's last film, Eyes Wide Shut, is a big exploration of sexual conflicts. And he had a lot of challenges in producing it and putting it out and getting critical attention for it for that exact reason. He was diving into this, you know, hot topic area, and yet he considered that worth talking about. You know, these are interesting areas to explore. These are some of the strongest positions that you can do drama from. And that is a really important reason to not just settle for like, okay, I'm going to just plain do simple self-gratification and pandering. And think of like, okay, what acts do a generic audience, what acts will such an audience want to read about? And then having done them, the story just ends and stuff. It can get so much more interesting than that. The emotions can get so much more engaged than that. And the scenarios can get so much more tangled than that when they start tapping into these very deep, basic drives.
Because really, if you rush things and just only worry about pleasing yourself, all you're going to be left with is a mess. Oh wait, that was about a long time ago.
But it's really an art form, like any other art form that you would attempt. Like the final product should be satisfying not only to you but to your audience. Otherwise, it's basically there's no point in even attempting it because well, who else is going to look at this at you? But some people do that. But whatever. So like, We just have to be like really. I don't know where I'm going with this. Somebody's
It's okay, Chad.
I can pick up there. I mean, no, it is true. As they're going on about. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're sharing the mic here. Do my best with this.
Yeah, see, like I said, we already have kind of too many people up on the stage, so we'll do it over. But
Making it work.
Making it work.
You know, psychosexual desires are fertile ground for stories and have been through the history of literature, but at its core, it's really no different than writing any other story, especially stories with action. A lot of people compare writing sexual action to writing violent action. It's easy to write a rote kind of description of physical things going on, but that oftentimes doesn't give you the most compelling thing to read. What you really want to be focusing on is the overarching story, is motivations between characters, why they're doing what they're doing, and what it means to them rather than what they're doing.
Right, I mean, one of the things I kind of thought of when I was thinking about this panel is that sex in itself is actually a story. You go from characters wanting something to a climax, and then but it's also a really boring story. It's one that everyone knows the beginning, middle, and end to. So by adding in the characters' personalities, other goals that they have in mind from this, whether it's connecting with a partner or some social thing, then by adding in other conflicts to it, then you can make it a good story as opposed to just retelling the same story one more time.
That also brings us to an interesting angle on this genre of fiction, because you could easily call it simply pandering. And we have a little discussion on pandering that we can have as well, because people don't always consider the fact that there are many kinds of pandering. When we were talking about this in Skype and preparing for the panel and getting familiar with it, not getting familiar with it that way, pretty much.
I'm married.
She's married. We were talking about pandering because it's easy to assume that anything in the genre that we're working in is nothing but pandering. And there are many kinds of panderings, and the fic My Little Dashie came up in the discussion. And we're not saying this is a bad fic, but we're saying that to an extent it is the emotionally pandering fic, because it is going for the feels in an expert way, very effectively, no holds barred. And the thing about it that makes it similar to our genre is that, well, our genre in some senses of using it, is My Little Dashie tends to do a thing about making readers see themselves as deeply caring individuals without actually requiring that they do anything to be deeply caring individuals, other than have a lot of feels. This is pandering. This is pandering. It's setting up a fic where the reader can vent their emotions and they haven't paid anything for it. The character that they are identifying with is just wonderful and sweet and suffers a terrible loss, and lonely bronies can understand being connected in this way and feeling a loss and such. So it's a pretty direct, basic fic. And it goes straight for the feels, grabs onto them and yanks them good and hard.
And then drags them straight to the ground and
And I do want to say, I mean, there's nothing really wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it at all.
Pandering in different ways. I mean, different genres of stories, different stories that give you different feels. Maybe, some people would look down on a story that is short and simple and provides some kind of catharsis or, release emotionally or however you want to put it. And some people prefer the longer, involved stories. And either way, there's not really anything wrong with that. It's up to what you're looking for, what the reader's looking for at the time. I think, anyway.
I agree with that. I mean, it's not like, any story that entertains someone is a good story.
Has value.
Or has value, yeah.
Yes.
Not a good story necessarily, but it's got a value and it has succeeded at the primary goal of a story. And so, whether you're talking about, My Little Dashie, or stories about, you know, one of the last of the main six left, or fluffy ship fics, you know, that, or, you know, your basic, just, you know.
Whatever you're into.
Right. Then, you know, there's nothing wrong with those stories, but I think that for a lot of us up here as writers, it's more fun for us to get into the, you know, I'm sorry, Mike.
I'm going to try to optimize this a little bit so that
Okay.
people maybe wait more.
It's more fun for us to, you know, really get into more complex stories, especially to talk about, you know.
The nitty-gritty. You know, get into more details. The problem is, one note can get old after a while. That's why there are so many notes on the musical chart. A story can't just be one thing. I mean, it can be, it's just not very interesting to a lot of people, like me. And that's very important to me, that things be interesting to me.
And the way I like to think about it is actually, I made up a little thing like, okay, pandering, payoff, and payload. Because the idea of pandering is you get a payoff, right? And that's real obvious. Like with plot fix, the payoff is very direct. But if you think about what would payload be if it wasn't the same thing as payoff? And my thinking on that is that it's when, like, I like some of the Stoner Shy stuff for that, when it goes into a direction that is sort of a specialty taste.
Oh, so is this how we're segueing into fetishes?
Pretty much.
Is this the part where I talk about fatties?
See, here's the thing. I've actually encouraged him to chase that sometimes. Payload for me means that you are writing a fic, and you're writing a fic that could be seen as pandering, but you're not just going to the audience and saying, okay, what do you like? I will do exactly what you want. Instead, you're going, okay, I have a basic idea of what you like. Now, what can I write that will take you on a little journey into my world? And some of the things I'm thinking about, or some of the things that you might not even be comfortable with. And going there. Payload would be the stuff that the audience is not expecting to deal with. And that's what makes it interesting. To me, that's what makes it not pandering. Because pandering is going directly for what the audience expects and wants. And going beyond that gets a lot more interesting. Because it means you can throw a twist, a curveball in there, and go to a different place, basically. Like the thing.
Yeah. So it's like, basically, you can be like, oh man, he's a huge fat ass. And like, that's cool and all. But like, you can only say that so many times before it gets boring. So you have to actually go into that in a way that's like interesting. Which is just like writing any other kind of story. Oh, well, we're gonna go and beat the hell out of Nightmare Moon. Okay, well, we can say that a whole bunch. But like, you have to like actually do something about it and go somewhere with it, or you don't really have a show or fan fiction to write that show about.
Yeah, there seems to be more than a point A and a B.
Yeah.
Well, there can be A and B, but there also has to be a C after that. The C has to be the end, the B is the middle. Beginning, middle, end.
Yeah, but this isn't about algebra, so. So it's like, you can kind of meander a little bit on the way there. That generally makes things more interesting. But it's yeah. Not like meandering, like deviating entirely, like, oh, well,
Deviating is good.
we ran into lube, so let's go to the grocery store. Like, okay, that could be kind of interesting. And actually, that could be actually very interesting depending on how you set it up.
I hear a new story coming out. Half the people in this room have just come up with a new story.
I am, of course, speaking from experience, but anyway.
Ooh.
With that,
Like this thing's like, and this is what I was talking to you earlier about the clumsy aspect of like, nobody has perfect sex. That just does not happen. I don't care who you are.
Maybe you don't.
Well, apparently one guy here has perfect sex. But anyway.
No, one horse.
Birthdays, not horses, so we'll let this slide.
Horses are, of course, exemption. But like, it's just like those little imperfections that generally make things more interesting, I guess. In my opinion, anyway. Because then, like, you have funny stories to tell about it sometimes, or like, it like looks like it's gonna go like to shit, but then like you manage to save it by doing something totally awesome, or I don't know.
Or if it looks like something's gonna go awesome, and then wow, that turned
That
out
didn't
really
go so well.
yeah.
Let's not do that again. But that also leads to funny stories.
Or something's supposed to be not awesome, and then it's disturbingly more awesome than we ever expected. Now what do we do?
Yeah. Do we do this all the time now,
All the time.
or yeah, that kind of thing?
I've actually had an interesting suggestion. Does anybody, any pony in the room, need us to go over and say the fics we're actually known for?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Do we just start like from you or what?
Yeah, just
Yeah, just start from
Let's
there.
say,
And please don't read anything from the fics, because we can't actually read anything from the fics. We should be able to say the names of the fics
Yeah,
perfectly fine. Most of the time.
The most recent one that I did was Anywhere But Here. That has like little bits of sexy bits in it every now and then. But the important thing, and this is one of the focuses of this panel, is it's not all about the sexual bits, because while that would be, I guess, somebody would be into that, I guess. Just watching Tap and Rita go at it for like 100 pages. But that's not why I started writing the story, because I actually had a story to tell, and it just so happens that these characters occasionally bump uglies, and like, that's just part of their relationship. And then the other thing that I did was More to Love, which I guarantee very few of you have read. That doesn't hold back on terms of most of my other interests. And
It's a big story.
Was it somebody commented, big adventure, tons of fun? Well, okay. And then there was that other thing that I wrote, which was Blood is Thicker Than Friendship, which is actually primarily a vampire thing, but there was like one sex scene in it. That was like my first attempt at it, and I guess I did okay. Like Applejinx said it was alright, I guess, but the one in Blood that I did, yeah. And
Pretty
Oh,
good.
right, that little scene that you showed me.
yeah.
Yeah, that scene that you showed me that I went, do more of that.
Yeah, that was when he was like, do more of this.
You startled me with this. I never read anything as good as that.
And those are like primarily the ones that have like intimate moments in them, I guess.
Okay, so.
Okay. Let's see. I've done a couple of them, so I should probably start at the beginning. The first one I did the first time I decided, hey, let me try this out. I went the safest route and did a humanized thing, Gilda Rainbow Dash thing called Coming Clean, where it's them at camp and basically Gilda has been interested in Rainbow Dash and is really awkward about it. Things pop. Shower, kind of goes from there. It really explores someone being really scared of their own feelings. Another one I did, which was a lot more grown up, I suppose, was a Lyra and Bonbon fic, which right now, for some reason, oh yeah, I don't know what it's called, The Things We Need, which actually ended up on Equestria Daily. Like, I cut out the part with the sex, and it was just a, kind of look at a married couple, because at the time there had been a lot of fics about them because it was starting to become popular, to pair them off, but they were all really bad, and they all a lot of them involved spells of special drawings of things, and I'm all like, is it really impossible to maybe write lesbians without a penis? So I decided to give it a try, and not just do that, but have them be a couple who had been married for years, to kind of show how intimacy can still exist, even with someone that you have known for so long and been with so often. So I could say to the audience, hey, married people have sex too, just like your parents did every time you were out of the house. Wow!
Or sometimes if you're unfortunate, like while you're trying to sleep.
Yeah.
very sorry. But, let's see. I think after that I went into more some FOE stuff. Like the one that probably most of you have read is 20.5, A Mare Worth Fighting For. Yeah, those three. Thanks, I appreciate it. In Fall Equestria, little Pip meets a girl, she falls in love really quickly, and things escalate, and well, it ends up leading off in a little bit of a cliffhanger in the middle of the chapter where things are getting intimate. And someone came up to me on 4chan, in the way that they do on 4chan, and says, "Hey Pacce, I like the Lyra and Bonbon thing. Why don't you do something for Little Pip? She has all this bad stuff happen to her. Let's see some of the good." And I, of course, didn't want to do it. So I'm like, well, you know, it's another author's characters. I really don't want to do that without their permission. So I go up to the comments in the story and be like, "Hey, K-Cat, would it be okay if I wrote something showing the first sex between Little Pip and Homage?" And I'm like, haha, problem solved. And then she said yes. And so it began, and I'm like, okay, well, here we go. And it turned out to be pretty fun, actually. I got to get in the head of this character who wasn't mine. I mean, most of the characters aren't mine, but someone who's really not mine, and someone who I only know through this limited scope of this one story. And it was quite challenging. It was also quite a blast. Especially since I really wanted to maintain the other author's personal interest that seems to show up a lot. Like, in case you didn't notice in FOE, a lot of embarrassing things happened a little bit in intimate ways. So I came up with some certain things to make sure that her first time was as uncomfortable as possible. And people sex, yeah. And it was a lot of fun. And then the next thing I worked on after that was Anywhere But Here with this fella. There's second story, which is Odds and Ends, which shows how, you know, Tap and Rita, the main characters, meet up. And the first time that they met up, and just really explore their characters as they grow in various ways. And yeah.
That actually wasn't a fat joke.
No, not yet. But yeah, so, like I said, sex in my story has always been about character exploration, being all like, okay, what can I say about these people by showing what they do when no one else is around, or when some other people are around for more exhibitionist characters.
Who's looking at me?
Yeah, it's your turn. You're up.
I'm up. No pun intended. I'm up. Sorry. Yeah, I wrote a book called Trixie's Magic Bed. And then I wrote a book called Rarity's Worst Day Ever. And then I wrote a book called Dashy's Falling.
Oh.
Then I wrote a book called Derpy Desires.
These are all the same verse.
And they're all the same continuing story. Yeah, I have written more words than the entire Chronicles of Narnia. More words than the Lord of the Rings as Horseborn.
Words well spent.
Essentially, it was exploring the characters, and it started out as basically plot-fixed short stories. And then the personality started getting involved because my Rainbow Dash was polyamorous and my Applejack was not quite polyamorous.
Which is, of
And
course, why
Pinkie Pie was polyamorous, but was also very empathic and very concerned about hurting Applejack's feelings and taking care of every pony. And it just got more and more complicated and just kept going that way for more than 500,000 words. So, I don't know, if you run out of your After Dark fix easily, there's a place to go. And yes, book players. Oh God. Oh, teases me about, O teases me about, I knew you were going to think up an idea for a 5th book. You gotta give me a couple of weeks after I get back from BronyCon, because I'll be exhausted. I update on Mondays, chapter on Monday generally, when I'm writing. And onward.
Yeah, again, I go by Sleeplessbrony. I wrote romance reports, which is kind of old news by now. And these days I'm writing Ponyville University. It's, you know, slow going, but it's coming along.
Yeah.
And there's some other shorter, minor stuff.
I'm O, and I wrote my first pick, which is Dirty Little Philly, as a response, as a response to the fall con that's always in the feature box. And I was like, you know what? There are ways that consenting adults can, you know, express that sort of thing. And I also liked the idea that putting makeup over a cutie mark is the pony equivalent of wearing a little schoolgirl outfit. So, my second pick was the riding pony.
I should have gotten a cheer, honestly.
Which is an exploration of a sub-mindset in a BDSM relationship between Rainbow Dash and Applejack. And then my third pick was Sex, Lies, and Cow Pony Hats, which was kind of a longer story about the idea of Applejack having to become a prostitute to make some extra money, but I wanted to take a very positive view of sex work and have it not be this degrading thing that's, you know, she doesn't become a cheap whore, she goes to her cousin Marmalade's escort service, and
it's heartwarming.
Yes.
Really heartwarming. I mean, mine get that way too sometimes.
So that's what I've written before, and I have another account that someone might have slipped up, and I just recently published my first adult fic on that account.
Are you gonna need this?
No, it's okay, because it ended up being, it was gonna go on my own account, but it ended up being 22,000 words of story and 3,000 words of sex, and I kind of thought, you know what, that's enough story that I can put it on the other account. The other account.
And it did very well and got featured and all
Yes,
kinds
it
of stuff.
did.
What's the other account?
Oh, if you don't remember, I'm not going to remind you again.
The story is Meetings Day. So.
That one, yeah. So that's basically what we do. Now, what we'd like to do for the remaining 20 minutes or so that we got is talk about some craft type stuff, because we really need to be doing that. We can't be doing readings from our fics. As much fun as that might be, as entertaining as it might be, it would take a long time for some of us to read all of our fics. Yeah, we would like to talk about the craft and things, and we can certainly take audience questions, but we'd like to hear audience questions about craft type things, and help you actually do this kind of stuff like it's an art form and do it up properly. Like, we've got various notes here, like I had one there on changing up words. It's really hard in this genre to avoid stuff echoing. How many different words for certain parts can you actually come up with and have it seem natural?
Oh,
Sure, some of you have run into this problem before.
These sources are helpful.
There's a guy on FimFiction, Wabajack, and he has compiled a list.
Ooh.
It is on his blog, on his user page, that's Wabajack, a list of all the words for this sort of thing that we could think of to several of us put together. And
That's awesome.
it is, and it is so useful. So I recommend
Point one out.
that anyone who's
Just one.
interested check that out.
Oh.
Have we got a question already?
It wasn't a question, just there was one on xenophilia that they kept coming up with synonyms for big Macintoshes. Problems. Yeah, but the problem was
Was I not allowed to say that?
It's Richard.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they were. He was having problems actually having a relationship because of how big he was. That he couldn't actually have a actual mature relationship with women, and
That's a
they
wonderful
wanted
conflict to work with.
Yeah, they wanted to. So they put up like a blog page of or a little post on one of the groups talking about all the like synonyms, and they just filled it with these horrible like synonyms for that, and the one that just kept popping up was apocalyptic tube steak.
I like that.
I like that actually. That sounds pretty cool.
That would be a good metal band.
That would also be a metal band.
Okay, we're not actually going to spend the entire panel in question and answer session going over those interesting metaphors, although there is always quilts and sofas, and we can hang out and compile a list there anytime you want. We can take some more questions, I suppose.
You and the yellow.
A quick one for Stoner Shy. Do you like hurting other people?
I don't remember like what he says in the video game, so
He doesn't say anything.
Oh, then never mind.
Janice. ...
Yeah.
Well, maybe let's go left to right, I guess. Back there?
Out of the following, which would you find most acceptable as a term for,
Careful, because we can't actually see people.
a Sphinx Spangler or a didgeridoo?
What is it? What was the question?
Hold on, I got this.
Why not just use slime?
Edison. Next question. Keep sweeping that way.
Go ahead. So my question is for Sleeplessbrony. So I noticed that in your story, sorry, I'm almost here.
That's cool. So are we.
In the romance reports, I noticed that you take a scene in a bedroom, and this small scene you managed to expound on for thousands of words, not only going into the story, but also managing to stay within that one intimate scene. Now, how would you recommend that somebody expounds on such a simple idea with such profound
I got this.
So how to make a big thing long, or a small thing longer?
Yeah.
Well, there are pills for that, I guess.
Let him answer, let him answer.
I was talking about Ritalin, how to focus in tight mode.
A lot of pressure. I think the only real answer I can give you is Edison.
Oh!
No, seriously, that's I don't know exactly what scene you're talking about. I think for questions like that, I'll be hanging out after the panel if you want to get at me. We can go into detail.
Are we talking, I can try to figure out, are we talking about basically a situation where it seems to go on a long time and you've got emotional development happening?
Well, I mean, one specific scene,
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to.
All right, might as well go on.
You can get at me afterwards.
Yes, I will.
Ooh. Dang.
Sorry, I don't want to sound like a Russian. We got a lot of hands up.
Yeah, we do.
You and the hat with the feather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Two very quick. One is actually very quick. Do any of you are fans of Spike?
In what context?
Just like Spike in general, not in any of the way we're talking about.
He's, I guess, a cool guy.
Yeah, he's alright.
He's okay.
Well, since you
Good kid.
asked first, you get it. I have fun art I wish to give people.
Oh no.
You get the fun one for this one.
Yeah, we probably can't show that to people.
Oh, we can.
So he's basically saying, why would you want?
The basic gist of it. I write Spike as a kid, which the Ponies want to some extent shelter from all that kind of stuff. But he's also a dragon, he's no fool, and he has a sort of jaded and ironic view of all that stuff. It's like, oh God, you Ponies are up to that again, kind of thing.
The second question is what I'm actually serious about. Because y'all write stories that are often questionable, you probably get a lot of hate mail all the time from certain fans.
Not really.
Do those actually inspire you to keep going because you just think it's hilarious, like I personally do? Or is it actually a deterrent to you writing?
I love this question. I've been bouncing off of this one pretty much all con long because the haters always seem to come up. I think, and it's easy to notice in our genre, that if you're doing anything that is really specific, you're going to get about 10% honestly, seriously legitimate haters. Like they're not just being trolls, but there's people who are genuinely offended and upset. And if you're doing anything specific and daring and audacious, you should be getting about 1 in 10 outright haters, or you're not doing it right. The flip side of it is that you're probably also going to get 1 out of 10 that are a raving mad fan, and those make it all worthwhile. The thing about the haters is it's not reasonable to blame people for not liking what you like. The way I like to react to that is basically being like, well, I'm sorry that you don't like it. Tell me a little bit more about why you feel the way you feel, because maybe I'm missing something because I'm not you. And you might be spotting something that will help me do what I want to do a little bit better. And you still won't like it. But I've done a little thing with it, you know.
Generally though, if you write a 5,000 word thing and someone reads every single word of it and then says, oh, I hated this, I don't know why I wrote this, I don't like your fetish. I'm like, okay, well, you can hit yourself with a dick with a hammer, but you don't have to do that. Richard, you can give Richard the back button at any time, man. Why would you stick around?
Yeah, I didn't tell you to read it.
Because my time is worthless.
That is true.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I've definitely wanted to write things and posted things out of spite. Long answer short.
It was you're the one who's been doing all the hating.
Wrist with the white paint on it? That's you.
That's my skin color.
Oh, sorry.
He's my friend. We were hanging out with him at Grills and Sofas. We like this guy. We like this guy. Ask the question. He's cool.
It's funny. Anyway, so what were the reactions of your either friends or significant other in like O's situation? Her
Husband.
Your husband's say.
Oh.
Like what?
There he is. Ask him.
You're right. Oh, jeez. Okay.
You know what? I have a wife that is that free and that comfortable and that powerful in her sexuality, and I'm the one who needs to sleep with her.
Wow. I was dating somebody at one point who was kind of like my Rainbow Dash in a way. It's a wild lady, and it didn't actually work out too long term, but it was fun while it lasted. And I have read the first chapter of my book series in bed to somebody who was not a brony, because that's how wild a character she was. And she was like, okay, that was weird. No, come on, let's do actual things. So it's not this automatic thing of like, oh, I do this and therefore you're completely weird and impossible to anybody that's not a brony. It's just like, okay, well, this is the thing that I do. And sometimes there are people who are like, okay, that's fine.
For me, I actually found it really handy that I had a friend who was not into the horse sex stuff at all, because I could sort of run this by him as a kind of like unbiased view. So it's like, hey, I'm running some horse sex. He's like, that's pretty weird, dog. Take a look at it. It's like, okay, like, yeah, that's right. So he takes a look at it, and then this person who's got it is like, that's pretty weird, dog, but it's also pretty hot. And I'm all like, this should accomplish.
One of my coworkers actually, who is actually in Ireland because he took a family to the chest and couldn't be here. He does this horrible thing where he'll like just start talking about the things that I've written to people that I don't want to know I've written. And he's just like, so I wrote this thing, there's some horses in it. I'm like, dude, no, don't, stop. These are actual people. This. Oh yeah, can I call on something now, or do I get to it? You there with the hand wraps?
Yes, person I've never met before.
Clearly.
It's this is not a question just for erotic writing. have you ever had a story just completely spiral out of control? And if so, how do you save it?
Why save it? That's how I do all my writing. You think I'm kidding? You think I'm kidding? She knows I'm not. What am I reading?
I don't know. Have you had a story spiral out of control? When he has a story spiral out of control, I tell him, hey, stop that.
Yeah.
And then fix it.
Some of the earlier versions of Blood that I had in mind, I was like, hey, Pacce, I want to do this thing. And Pacce was like, why would you do that? How much do you hate your fans? I was like, well, oh, all right.
It's like, okay, so you want to take your red on red OC and make her the center of the universe, the reason Nightmare Moon was created?
That was a horrible idea. By the way, that was James's fault for encouraging me. So there you go. Hope you have Wi-Fi in Ireland, buddy.
Okay,
but he's getting the freshest skin as you can get, so I guess he has one over on me.
we are actually running out of time because we started about 10 minutes late because you people didn't run in the door fast enough. So, does anybody have a quick question that they can do? Somebody's bouncing there. How about Hat over there? You bounced over.
Do you develop the character to the when you're doing more fashion stuff? Do you develop the character to the paraphilia, or does the paraphilia come and then you develop the character that would have that interest?
Okay. So do we take the character? Basically, what I do is, dang, I don't know.
Who's your favorite company?
Who's your favorite? That's actually a better question. Oh, we'll answer your question when we have time to think about it. Close some sofas or something. Who's the favorite? Rainbow Dash, always.
Twilight Spark, all of them.
Yep.
Thank you, Tyler.
And of course, the only right answer, Gilda's best pony.
Yeah, so thank you.
Oh, okay. 5 different answers. Awesome. Okay, thank you very much. We're out of time, but we're not out of, well, I can't say that. We're out of time, but we've had a wonderful time.
Hey, you guys
Thank you for
Sorry.
Are we all going to be in Ghosts and Sofas at some time or other? I hope you learned a lot about us and writing, a little bit.
Hanging out.
Sorry.